I've seen a lot of individuals who are, trying to push this automation, 100% hands off marketing, which I think is really cool. But I think what it lacks is showing you why exactly it all works or how it works, right? And then how to think through it, because you can automize and set templates to send everything you want in responses, right? But in construction, what I've noticed is contractors often ask, questions that are a little slightly more specific towards your installation process or towards a specific project. And so automatic replies can't really give that, right? Those have to be a little more personalized, which in my opinion is good because having those be personalized allows you to guide them towards the sale quicker, right? However, for the first year, marketing was completely, horrible. It really did suck. I was reviewing the templates that I used back then, and it's just, yeah, it was bad. Year two, which was last year, I spent all of it just sending manual emails, right? And then towards the end of it, I eventually started scheduling. At the beginning of this year, with the new marketing going into this quarter one of 2025, I really want to focus on setting those automations. And so what I want to show you is basically the new process that I have. Essentially, it's the same thing, right? You got to continue to find emails, quality emails in the areas that you want to work with. That never stops. But then what I was doing before was sending an email, setting a manual task, going in there to remind me 2 weeks later to see where things were, right? And so all of that can be automatic. And what I mean by that is, here you can see how it's going to work. So stage one, day one, so that would be today, I would enroll into this sequence or to this process. It's going to send them the very first email, which is going to tell them, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we're looking to work for you. 15 days later, right, it's going to tell me an activity to pop up on my daily activities and say, was it seen? Right, 15 days after that, so on day 31, 1 month in, it's going to send them the second follow-up to just simply say if they're interested. If that doesn't get seen, 30 days after that, so day 61, it's going to say, hey, this is the last one, kind of checking in, this is what we do. And then let's just say that that doesn't work or they don't reply. Day 76, from the first day they were enrolled to this sequence, it's going to schedule a call for me to do. What I like about this is 76 days of following up that you only have to set up once. It took me less than 10 minutes, but those are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches that were set up in 10 minutes that are gonna follow up throughout 90 days, okay? And then I'm gonna set the same processes for all of the email or all of the contractors that didn't answer me all of last year. And so now those are gonna be on a follow-up process, which is going to be essentially very similar with their specifics. But the point of this is just to get a response, right? And so the minute that you get a response, the sequence will automatically stop. It's going to be a success. And then you're going to take that on a more personal level, right? So then depending on what feedback they're giving you, depending on what their responses are, you're going to cater to that response case by case. Cool. And you can do this for everything else. And so I also just did a similar process for submitting proposals, right? So when you submit proposals, right, then I give it 3-4 days, and it's going to be an activity. The activity is going to tell me, hey, was that proposal seen? I'll go verify if it was seen or not. 2 or 3 days after that, it's going to send a follow-up proposal. Hey, contractor, what were your thoughts? We submitted a proposal. Any additional questions? 3 days after that, was that one seen? If none of those were seen, the following activity is going to be a scheduled call for me to reach out and just say, hey, did you receive the email? Right? Maybe it's in their junk folders, whatever, but we want to make that connection as soon as possible. The idea is you want to have a follow-up nurturing process for every phase of this, right? I've noticed as I'm talking to the guys in the growth challenge, as I am continuing to refine and just see how can I make my process more efficient, I've realized that every step needs to have a nurture process, right? So even billing, I'm making one for invoices, because one of the biggest problems that we had at the end of last year was, even though we submitted our invoices on time, we weren't getting paid on time. Now, why is that? It wasn't necessarily our contractor's fault, and it wasn't necessarily our fault, but it could be a lot more efficient. And the way that it could be more efficient is in the beginning, when you're first negotiating the processes, when you're kind of introducing them to how you do work, they're kind of telling you how they do their work, how they pay out. You want to identify who the main point of contact is for billing, right? Because it's going to be different from your project managers, from the person sending you the projects to bid. And so that was the piece that I was missing, right? But now that I understand that, I know to ask that up front. And then as soon as we send an invoice, they get enrolled to a sequence that 3 days later is going to say, hey, just want to make sure you got the invoice. Because again, we come down to the end of the 2 weeks where we're expecting payment and we're not receiving that payment because they never even saw the initial invoice submitted. Okay, and so what this process is going to do is make sure that it gets sent 3 days later. We get a yes or a no saying we submitted it, or we received, or we haven't, right? Obviously, that's going to give them the reminder to go and stay on top of that invoice on their end. So again, these sequences, these automations are super helpful. They're cool, right? They make you feel like, oh yeah, you're doing automation in your business. But if you don't have the right muscle memory around the habits that need to happen, or around the activities that need to happen, these automations are almost an overkill for you, right? Because imagine if you've never sent out emails. First of all, you don't know what to say or what's working for your niche. Okay, you don't have an idea of what kind of replies are going to come in. So when replies come in, you're going to be stuck and you're going to avoid replying to them because you think you're going to ruin the opportunity. So you just end up not replying, right? So you get overwhelmed. But whenever you finally develop the habit of making sure you're always sending out 2 to 5 emails a day, making sure you're always following up 2 to 5 times a day, making sure you're scheduling activities all day, every day for every project you have, this is all building really good habits around the nurture process, right? Because the first step is getting the leads, contacting leads, creating leads, right? And then you have to move over to nurturing those leads. And this is where this process really amplifies that. Once you already understand why you're doing things and what actions are repetitive, because the repetitive actions are the ones that you can automate. The ones that aren't repetitive and come once every now and then are the ones you need to personalize. Okay, and so making that distinction is good, but you can't make that distinction if from day one you just automate everything. It sounds good, right? And it'll be cool and it's good for the ego, but it's not going to benefit you because eventually you're going to get to the point where you're just overwhelmed and you don't understand. Sure, leads are coming in, opportunities, new contractors are emailing and replying to you, but you're not necessarily pushing them through the sales process as efficiently as you could be had you learned everything, the ins, the outs, the whys, and the whats with this process, right? And so my idea with the growth challenge is exactly that. Show you the boring work and the hard work, and making sure you develop muscle memory on those, and then we automate and things just take off for you. So anyways, that's going to be the new process we're implementing into our business here at the start of 2025. And what I see from now, it's really efficient, it's really hands off. And this is something that you can either do right away, your significant other can help you with. Literally takes 10 minutes. It's not complex to set up. It's not hard to understand. And you continue to be on the tools if you need to, or you can continue to foster relationships that you want to continue to grow.